This is where Perth talks at night with Chris Ilsley on Perth Tonight.
A little bit of history. It was commonly thought that a large blue Hope diamond was stolen in the 17th century from the forehead of a Hindu goddess statue by a man named, I think it's Tavernier. Now, according to history, Tavernier was later torn apart by wild dogs in Russia. By the way, the truth is quite different, but I suppose at this point we could ask the obvious question. Was the Hope diamond truly cursed? And maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, but somebody might say, gee, was it really worth the effort? I suppose it would depend on how much it was worth and whether it was truly going to be of something of great value. Robert Cliff is a gemologist and master jeweller, so he might be able to answer some of the questions, like, for example, what's it worth? I don't know if he'll be able to go down the cursed department, however. We'll soon find out. G'day, Robert.
G'day, Chris. How are you?
Mate, is it cursed?
Well, Chris, it's got a. If this diamond could talk, it'd tell 1,000 stories. But look, I don't think it is cursed. But I mean, as you said, it's got a very interesting history. I mean, it has a reputation for, as you said, being stolen by this Tavernier fellow who absolutely. Says he got torn apart by wild dogs, but I don't think that's really true. I think it passed on then to Louis XIV, and of course, what happened to Louis XIV and his Queen Marie Antoinette?
Ah, yes, the good old-fashioned guillotine.
The guillotine, and then it was.
But then were they cursed because they had this diamond? Were they destined then for the guillotine?
Well, yeah, I don't know whether the diamond had anything to do with it, but certainly they were beheaded, and then. It got passed on to another fellow where the name came from, which was Henry Hope, and he was a collector of fine art, and he passed it on to his nephews, and they used it to pay their gambling debts. And finally, probably the most reason anyone who could possibly say the same had a curse in it was a lady called Evelyn Walsh McLean, who purchased it from Pierre Cartier, and what happened to her, the poor thing, was she lost her son in a car crash at the age of 9, and her daughter committed suicide, and then her husband was declared insane. So, it has got a very, very cursed past, hasn't it?
Robert, I said to you, convince me that it's an old wives' tale, it's not cursed. Now, with the greatest of respect, my friend, you've done a lousy job so far. In fact, you've done a really good job convincing me that this is not something you'd want in your possession. And, mate, I got to tell you, I'm not the superstitious kind.
Well, look, I think, Chris, it's certainly a diamond that has whether half those stories are true or they're old wives' tales, another story. But it's now sitting in the Smithsonian Institute in the USA, and it's there for everyone to see. It's a very unique stone because it's basically irreplaceable.
Yeah, we'll come to that in just a moment. Let's have a look back in its history. Who originally crafted this stone, and was there a person for whom it was originally intended?
Well, that I can't answer you, to be honest with you, Chris. What you said is quite true. We know it was found in India in the 1600s. We know that it was probably that French jeweller Tavernier was the fellow that found it. Who was crafted for, I don't know. I can't tell you.
Yeah, found it. It sounds to me more like he stole it. That's probably why they said it was cursed.
He did steal it. So it goes.
Yeah, as a gemologist, and one of the things you do is value things like diamonds and what have you, how valuable would this be in today's terms?
I think it's probably, Chris, look, to be quite honest with you, I don't think you can value it. It's invaluable because I don't think you would ever find another diamond what's unique about the Hope diamond is it is a blue diamond, and that makes it so rare that I don't know that you could ever replace it or you could ever put a value on it. I think it's priceless, to be honest with you.
So what you're saying is if somebody, say, for example, brought it in to you and said, can you value this, you'd find it really hard because you're going to tell me that, firstly, it's a diamond, the type of which you've never seen before, the type of which you'd never expect to see again. You'd realise that it was genuine, but because you couldn't firmly identify it, it would be almost impossible to put a value on it.
Absolutely. I mean, you could value its carat weight and its clarity and its cut, but how do you value the rarity and the history and the intrinsic value?
Yeah.
It's very hard.
Yeah, I suppose it is. And more to the point, I guess, for a lot of people, how would you put a value on it? Because let's face it, if you got your hands on it, it's not as though I could rock around to your shop and say, hey, Robert, how much will you give me for this?
Exactly. Exactly.
Actually, with the story you told at the beginning, you'd probably say, mate, there's the door. Shut it when you leave and keep walking, please. And take that with you. But
yeah, exactly.
It's a blue diamond, this Hope diamond. Are blue diamonds per se fairly common?
No. Very, very rare, Chris. It's very, very, very hard to find blue diamonds.
Where would you find them if you were looking for them?
Look, most of the coloured diamonds come out of South Africa still, and they get passed around the world through various channels. But South Africa would be where they would come from. They're very, very rare. It's very hard to come across.
Is that where you suspect the Hope diamond came from originally?
No, it came from India. Okay. According to the legend, it was out of a mine in India where a lot of fine diamonds and blue diamonds particularly come from. They say it's Golconda in India.
Okay, but you don't get stuff like that from there now?
No.
Okay.
No. In India, is a big diamond player in the world market, but most of the diamonds these days still come out of Africa.
Right. And the other thing is, when we look at the different diamonds we get today, traditionally what colour are they? Because we talk about a blue diamond, but in the main, do we have a specific colour that diamonds usually are? Colourless.
They're usually clear and colourless.
Okay.
And the more colourless, the more expensive. But then I must say to you, a blue diamond or any coloured diamonds, the pink Australian diamonds, are just so rare that they command an enormous price.
How do you tell a diamond? I mean, you often see this in the movies, and look, I know the movies aren't real, where people seem to be able to easily present diamonds that to the uninitiated appear to are fakes, but they appear to be real. Is it really that easy, even for the uninitiated, or do people with half a brain of diamonds be able to spot a fake a mile away?
You mean somebody who's experienced or someone who's not experienced?
Well, somebody who's experienced with handling diamonds but not a gemologist.
Yeah, no, I think these days, Chris, there's what they call laboratory-grown diamonds, and they're getting closer and closer every day to the real thing, and it's getting harder and harder to tell the difference. And unfortunately, that's not a good thing, because there's, I'm sure even experienced people could be fooled by some of these diamonds.
Oh, that's a bit of a concern. Now, mate, tell me, you must know the answer to this question. Are diamonds still a girl's best friend for those people who actually have enough money to be able to buy them in the first place?
Absolutely, absolutely. They've still got that romance about them. They're still magnificent. Nothing sparkles like a diamond, Chris. They're just beautiful.
Yeah, but expensive. It's a pity we can't have diamonds for poor people. The rest of us will be able to handle them. You know that diamond they featured in the movie Titanic? I have to ask you this to wrap up. Was that movie the one that Rose Dawson has, that Jack draws her wearing, on the night of April the 14th, 1912 in the movie? Was that inspired by this Hope diamond?
Well, I'd like to think so, Chris. I'm sure it was. And what a story it has. I'm really a romantic at heart. Precious, that precious diamond that the gorgeous young woman got was, although fictional, it's a very romantic story.
Yeah, you were the one when the old lady throws it over the side of the boat. You wanted to dive in and grab it, didn't you?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I thought so.
Absolutely.
You're still left wondering about all of this stuff, don't you? Because there's all this intrigue and all this mystery surrounding diamonds. The Hope diamond, are you absolutely sure of where it got its name?
Well,
I mean, it's supposed to be cursed. How can you call something that's cursed the Hope diamond? What are you going to call something that's really cursed?
Well, the Hope name came from the famous banker whose name was Hope. So, according to legend. So,
that's all right. way bankers treat people, mate.
Lord
You got
Francis
no
Hope.
hope. Listen, it's been an absolute pleasure, and thank you very much for having a chat to us.
My pleasure, Chris. Thank you.
Yeah, gemologist and master jeweller Robert Cliff.